Hey everyone, just to create a little bit of variety in my videos for this channel, we're going to be talking about the X guard right now to take a slight break just before we start getting into knee bar defense. So what I want to do in this video is just go over the concepts for a control scheme with the X guard, as well as talk about the differences of regular X and the shallow hook X that we're starting to see a lot more of. So I'm occupying this inside space between my opponent's legs so that I'm able to access both legs as levers and have a ton of control over my opponent's hips and center of gravity. I have this hook behind my opponent's knee, and it's going to be a sticky butterfly hook, so the top of my foot is hooking around tight against my opponent's leg. If this extends out like this, it becomes a lever that's accessible, and this is going to help my opponent with shutting this down. So I am looking to keep a tight butterfly hook here that's creating pressure this direction against my opponent. His leg is chambered preferably up on my shoulder. It won't always happen, but up on my shoulder, I'm shrugging my shoulder and I'm pinching his leg in between my shoulder and my ear, so that even if he tries to high step right now, he's stuck. It's not going to hold him forever, but it's better than me doing something like this where now if Kevin pulls his leg out, I've lost the control. My arm is coming around, my hand is grabbing right on top of his kneecap. I'm not grabbing below it because that's not the end of the lever. Grabbing the gi, I'm not actually going to be able to control the rotation of his leg. Kneecap, and I'm closing my elbow and I'm trying to open his knee up. I'm not concerned about Kevin opening his knee up really wide this direction because there's nowhere he can go that way. My concern is him being able to drop his knee right on my chest and being able to drive that pressure into me, or being able to turn himself and sprint or escape, like just run away. So I'm looking to control and close this so that if he tries to rotate his leg around, it's difficult, and I've caused a little bit of external rotation to his hip. Now, traditional X, my right leg comes through and it's hooking up at the top of his hip here. My top of my foot and my toes are curling right up against his hip, the right side of his hip, so that, once again, there's no lever for him to access. If I do this is what I see a lot from people when they're first learning X, is that they're lazy with the hooks, and this hook's either somewhere on his leg, in which I don't really have strong lever control. I want to anchor the hip, and I want to have a lever to the hip down here. If I'm spread out like this, forming an X, just holding somewhere on his leg, I don't have very strong control. This leg is creating a pull to my right, while my left leg is creating a pull to my left. And this tension is what's controlling Kevin's hip, that's stopping him from being able to move. Now, what we prefer, and it's a style that you're starting to see more and more of now, is a shallow hook, in which this hook is going here against my opponent's near hip. And I'm pushing into the front of the hip, a little bit under the leg, and it can be even into your opponent's crotch here. What we prefer about this is that it gives us more direction and it gives us a stronger alignment. So just without Kevin, if I was to form an X guard with the far hook, my legs typically start doing this. I'm creating some external rotation of my hips, and I'm creating a pull here. This is not a very strong alignment for my legs, having them splayed open like this. And when I put my foot in for a shallow hook, into the shallow X, I'm able to actually start putting my leg in more of a leg press alignment, because my knee starts to come up closer to my chest and I start to rotate my leg this way. What this does is it allows me a stronger motion to be able to push away, as well as now gives me a plane of direction upwards, where here, with my legs splayed open, I can create this pull, yes, and I can do a bit of an extension here, but my extension's weak, and there's no way in hell I could ever lift weight. Think about just putting your feet like this and having some weight planted on top of your legs. How much would you be able to lift like this versus a leg press motion? So with this shallow hook, I'm able to now push up into Kevin's crotch and hip, and I'm going to actually even be able to, from here, I could lift both his feet off the mat if I wanted to, because I have the ability to drive up, especially against really tall people. Say, like for myself, the only way that most people are able to actually threaten me within X guard, because I'm so long and I have such a wide base, is when they're able to actually create the shallow X and push up onto me. That's going to cause me to have to post my hands on the mat. We get a massive disruption in my opponent's center of gravity. Nothing wrong with this style, I can still do the same things, but I'm limited with how much I'm able to push, and I don't have the same ability to be able to push upwards effectively. This allows me that leg press to push outwards, to push upwards, massive manipulation of Kevin's base. And then as well for my center, for my knee-elbow connection, we just turn to your backs to the camera. By having my leg further away, typically we start to create a bit of space here. Not the end of the world, but by me going into a shallow X, I'm able to now have a nice knee-elbow connection here that helps me be stronger, gives Kevin less ability to be able to try and access my limbs as levers or controlling inside space. So from here, if he's trying to grab at my wrist or grab my elbow and push it down, it's very difficult. Even if this hook was to completely fail right now and he tries to sit down or get past my guard, this knee-elbow connection keeps me safe and will allow me to keep resetting into the X guard properly. The last thing is just making sure that we're affecting our opponent's alignment with an X guard. So there's a difference between an X guard where our opponent has both feet planted into the mat comfortably and they're in control of their center of gravity, versus always having our opponent tilted onto the back leg. So cosmetically the same thing, but the difference of here, where now Kevin's going to be able to start lowering his center of gravity, starting to work on trying to access levers and shed the control, he's now able to start working for defense. Same position, but I just always make sure that his leg up by my head is never touching the mat. Now he has way less base, compromised balance, that I'm always going to be able to just mess with him. If you watch Marcelo Garcia do X guard, he's rarely sitting here in this position, unless he's first establishing it and getting some grips. He is always messing with his opponent's base so that they're unable to start turning the battle into their advantage. So just make sure your opponent's foot is off the mat and you've shifted their center of gravity into their other leg. This is what's going to start helping us being able to disrupt our opponent and start setting up our technical stand-up sweep, which is what we're going to go over in the next video.